I don't know if he's been released yet, but I don't think so. He'll be in a police office room somewhere being interviewed by detectives with a view to the fact he is under investigation.
Just in, a palace psychologist breaks silence, revealing a tragic diagnosis for young Prince Louis. Internal documents describe a condition hidden behind staged smiles, missed events, and rising concern inside Kensington Palace. The revelation exposes a growing crisis, a child overwhelmed, and a monarchy struggling to contain the truth. The moment the palace psychologist spoke out, "Just in" spreads across screens as a report from Kensington Palace is leaked, naming Dr. K, a palace psychologist who had been quietly assessing Prince Louis. The document describes a rare neurological emotional profile, a condition the report warns could reshape the future of the firm. The world had known Louis for his playful balcony moments, but the report claims those scenes hid a deeper struggle. Staff describe nights where the young prince cried for hours, as if locked inside his own mind, leaving nannies shaken and unsure. One nanny's sudden midnight departure, marked only as personal reasons, becomes an early sign that the palace feared attention on the prince's condition. The leaked lines hit harder when tied to the institution's stability. If the youngest royal cannot cope with his role, what does that mean for the monarchy's continuity? Insiders speak about an environment tightening around him, missed rehearsals, abrupt cancellations, and handlers guiding every movement. The palace, sensing pressure, keeps drapes closed and schedules controlled. Quotes in the report echo a building crisis. This child is overwhelmed, and the expectations exceed his emotional limits. The cute prince the public thought they knew. In public, Prince Louis appears cheerful beside Princess Catherine, waving from Kensington Palace and drawing attention during national events. His older siblings, Prince George and Princess Charlotte, move with polished ease, while Louis is shown laughing, fidgeting, or covering his ears. Audiences call him charming, the cheeky youngest, a carefree royal child. Behind closed doors, the picture shifts. Staff describe long emotional shutdowns, moments where he seems unreachable, staring past people as if the room is too loud to exist in. One aide confides, "He isn't misbehaving, he's overwhelmed." Another recalls him freezing before a rehearsal, unable to step forward without specific comforts. These incidents never reach the public. Clips are edited, feeds cut away, and cameras redirected. Handlers stay close during events, whispering cues, guiding his hands into waves, helping him maintain a smile. Observers analyzing footage later point to episodes of emotional flatness, followed by sudden, exaggerated laughter that seems practiced rather than natural. The palace's curated image hides a mounting concern inside Kensington's walls. Whispers, missing appearances, and silent alarm. Over the next months, palace staff begin noticing a pattern around Prince Louis's public role. Unlike Prince George and Princess Charlotte, whose outings are mapped out weeks in advance, Louis's attendance becomes unpredictable. Cars are prepared, but departures are delayed. Sometimes he refuses to leave his room. Other times, a last-second message cancels his appearance entirely. One aide whispers, "He freezes. It comes out of nowhere." During rehearsals inside Kensington Palace, couriers and assistants trade quiet stories of the prince standing still for minutes, unable to respond, or suddenly demanding certain comfort rituals before moving. When he does attend events, like summer displays at Windsor or balcony gatherings, handlers stay within arm's reach, murmuring guidance, redirecting his eyes, easing him through crowds. A senior staff member mutters, "Just help him keep smiling," as cameras roll. Footage analysts later point to worrying signs: the child's blank expression when applause erupts, the sudden switch to laughter that seems rehearsed, not spontaneous. But none of this reaches the public. The firm trims clips, shifts angles, and avoids close shots when Lewis appears distressed. Headlines remain positive, describing him as lively and charming. Inside the palace, concern grows. Outside, no one sees the signs. Media blackout and behind-the-scenes pressure. Journalists who once loved cutting to Prince Louis slowly notice fewer chances. Reaction shots shrink. Live feeds cut away whenever he looks anxious or stares off. Paparazzi agencies, usually relentless with royal children, back off after receiving editorial guidance from the firm. One editor recalls a warning: "Do not distort the prince's emotional state." This soft directive feels like a shield around the young royal, and a warning to the press. Producers whisper about withheld access if they highlight moments of strain. A hot mic captures a tense scene backstage at a national event. A handler whispering, "Keep him steady. If he locks up again, pull him out." Another voice responds, "We can't let the public see this." Photographers notice the palace choosing angles that hide discomfort, while agencies stop bidding for solo images of the child. Yet the shift remains invisible to viewers. The firm maintains a polished front. Smiling family outings, curated portraits, and carefully timed group appearances at Kensington Palace. Reporters sense something changing, but lack proof. Inside, the palace tightens control to prevent speculation. Outside, the world sees only brightness. The silence around Louis grows heavier, signaling that the real crisis is unfolding out of sight. The secret arrival of Dr. K inside the royal system. As concern around Prince Louis deepens, the firm quietly brings in Dr. K, a specialist known for working with protected elite families. She enters Kensington Palace under the title of an educational advisor, but her true mission is far more urgent. Staff are instructed to grant her full access to the prince's routines, his playrooms, his rehearsals, and his quiet hours inside Windsor. For weeks, she observes him without interruption. She notes how he struggles in loud spaces, how his breathing changes before a public moment, how he shuts down when expectations rise. One staff member recalls hearing her say softly, "This is not mischief. This is overload." Her notes describe a child who brightens in calm settings but collapses under pressure, a pattern that troubles her. Palace aides hoped for a mild assessment, something that would support the official line that the prince is simply spirited. Instead, Dr. K compiles a detailed report warning that his emotional responses are intensified by performance demands and that his current role may be unsafe for his development. She insists on reduced appearances and structured support. Senior officials push back, arguing that altering his public presence would raise questions. One replies sharply, "The public needs unity. We cannot show strain." Inside the palace walls, her findings echo louder than any press headline. Outside, nothing changes, and the world remains unaware of the crisis building around the young prince. Inside the sessions, Louis's words that changed everything. During private sessions, Prince Louis speaks more quietly than anyone expected. Dr. K records a boy who sounds overwhelmed by the world around him. He tells her, "It feels too loud inside my head," a phrase she marks as a critical sign of emotional overload. He admits he doesn't understand why he must wave when frightened or smile when he feels unsteady. His most painful question, "Why do they only see me when I'm happy?" forces the psychologist to confront the emotional cost of royal life on a child. He describes crowds as walls of noise and cameras as bright eyes watching, revealing a deep confusion between being himself and performing for others. Dr. K logs repeated traits: social withdrawal, hypersensitivity, and sudden emotional spikes when placed under strain. She warns palace officials that these patterns are not temporary, but signs of a rare neurological emotional profile requiring long-term support. Yet each recommendation meets resistance. Requests for fewer public duties are dismissed. Appeals for specialized therapy are delayed. A senior aide answers bluntly, "Speculation about an heir's stability is too dangerous." The sessions paint a clear picture: a child struggling to breathe inside the role he inherited. The palace's refusal to shift course sets the stage for the clash that will follow, and for the report that will soon break the silence surrounding him. The tragic diagnosis hidden in the report. After weeks of quiet observation inside Kensington Palace, Dr. K completes the most detailed evaluation ever conducted on Prince Louis. Her report begins circulating only among the highest figures in the firm, hand-carried between offices and read behind locked doors. Within its pages, she outlines an atypical neurological emotional profile, describing a child who thrives in calm, gentle spaces, yet unravels the moment public expectation presses against him. She lists hypersensitivity to noise, sudden spikes of stress-driven paralysis, and long stretches of emotional withdrawal that appear whenever the demands of royal life rise beyond his threshold. Her warnings grow sharper as the report continues. She documents repeated episodes where Louis's breathing tightens, his gaze drifts, and his body becomes still, not out of disobedience, but as a direct response to overwhelming pressure. She writes with certainty, "These are not tantrums. These are signs of overload." Several pages explain how constant applause, flashing cameras, and ceremonial routines serve as triggers, pushing him deeper into distress each time he is exposed. One sentence becomes the heart of her conclusion. The environment acts as an accelerant. Royal life, she argues, is not simply difficult for him. It is actively worsening his condition. Then comes the line on page 14, the one that sends a jolt through every advisor who reads it. If unaddressed, this may lead to a crisis of identity with constitutional significance. The meaning is unmistakable. If the young prince cannot cope with the role he is destined to inherit, the stability of the monarchy itself may be at risk. Instead of accepting her recommendations, reduced public duties, specialized therapy, and a full restructuring of his schedule, senior officials shift instantly into public image preservation. Discussions turn from Louis's well-being to fears of public perception. The report becomes something dangerous, something that must never surface, because one leak could challenge the illusion of a perfectly prepared royal heir. Inside the palace, tension thickens. Advisors trade anxious looks. Staff walk on edge. Yet, beyond the gates, the world remains unaware. Public smiles continue. Official portraits are released on schedule. No one outside Kensington knows that a private diagnosis is quietly shaping every decision around a child whose future now carries the weight of the throne. Prince Louis's struggle, once a private concern, becomes something larger. A silent question about whether the monarchy can survive a truth it refuses to face. Image over care. How the palace responded. When Dr. K's report begins moving through restricted channels, the palace turns immediately to public relations. Within days, new images of Prince Louis appear, laughing in gardens, holding Princess Catherine's hand, playing beside Prince George and Princess Charlotte. These moments look candid, but insiders claim the scenes were carefully arranged with selected photographers. One staff member admits they needed the world to see joy. Instead of reducing the prince's public load, officials focus on protecting the monarchy's image. Editors are quietly offered early access to unrelated royal stories in exchange for positive framing. Headlines shift to light-hearted features, celebrating Louis's charm while avoiding any mention of missed events or withdrawn behavior. Behind the scenes, aides whisper about a single goal: maintain stability, avoid questions. Handlers remain close during every outing, guiding his posture, prompting his smile, and pulling him aside if signs of distress appear. A supervisor is overheard saying, "This cannot reach the public. Keep the image clean." The palace's polished portraits become shields, covering the growing internal conflict between truth and tradition. Inside Kensington, staff members grow divided. Some believe the prince's needs must come first. Others insist that altering his public presence could spark speculation, capable of weakening the monarchy. The louder the internal warnings grow, the brighter the curated images become. The tragic irony deepens. The more Prince Louis struggles, the more the world is shown perfect smiles. His reality is hidden behind crafted scenes, turning his diagnosis into another secret buried to protect the crown's appearance. The whistleblower, the lockdown, and a fractured palace. As Prince Louis's withdrawn episodes grow more frequent and more severe, tension inside Kensington Palace thickens into something many staff have never witnessed before. Dr. K, watching the young prince struggle while her recommendations are quietly dismissed, reaches her breaking point. She realizes she can no longer ignore what she now considers active institutional neglect. Her resignation is delivered in a short, controlled meeting, framed publicly as a routine transition. But inside palace walls, the meaning is unmistakable. Someone has stepped out of line. Hours after she leaves Kensington, her full report appears within a respected global child well-being network. The leak is technically anonymous, but among staff, there is no debate. Someone chose truth over protocol, and someone believed the prince's safety outweighed the monarchy's image. Whispers spread through hallways as the document circulates privately among specialists. Its tone is calm, clinical, and devastating. It describes a system that values tradition more than treatment, a structure that expects performance even when a child is collapsing under the weight. The sentence, "The environment is harming him," becomes the line that haunts the palace. The reaction is immediate. The firm orders a strict internal lockdown. Access to Louis is cut dramatically. His routines are rewritten. His schedule is sealed behind layers of clearance. Staff who once interacted with him daily now find themselves removed from his orbit without explanation. Conversations about his condition are banned. Each public appearance is rehearsed with precision, every movement managed, every expression monitored. Some workers try to justify the new measures as necessary protection. Others whisper in corners, "This is containment, not care." As days pass, the royal household quietly fractures. One side is determined to preserve the monarchy's flawless image, convinced that any admission of difficulty could cause permanent damage. The other side believes the institution is failing the child it claims to protect, repeating old patterns of silence. Yet, to the outside world, nothing looks different. Official statements remain polished. Smiling photos are released. Kensington's facade stays pristine. Behind that silence lies a growing fear. The leak cannot be erased, and the truth has started moving beyond the palace's control. A diagnosis that threatens more than one child. By the end of the leaked outline, Prince Louis's condition is no longer treated as a small, private concern. It becomes a mirror held up to the entire monarchy, a test of whether a centuries-old system can adjust when a young heir's emotional reality clashes with the rigid shape of the role he is expected to fill. The report forces questions. The firm has avoided for decades. What happens when a future royal cannot withstand the endless light of cameras? What happens when vulnerability is not a weakness, but a medical fact? And if the system cannot change for one child, can it survive at all? Inside Kensington Palace, these questions echo in quiet hallways. Senior officials choose silence as their shield. They rely on controlled imagery, curated family walks, and carefully managed public encounters. Every staged smile becomes a tool. Every edited video becomes a barrier between truth and expectation. One advisor, frustrated and afraid, is overheard saying, "The crown cannot bend." Another answers, barely above a whisper, "But he can break, and we will be the cause." Outwardly, nothing changes. Events continue. Portraits are released on schedule. Public announcements stay cheerful, filled with warm language. But behind the facade, the atmosphere shifts. Staff who have witnessed Louis's episodes move with new caution. They watch every expression, every pause, every flicker of discomfort, knowing how quickly he can become overwhelmed. For them, each outing feels like walking a thin line between duty and harm. Louis's quiet struggle becomes more than a personal battle. It becomes a symbol of the monarchy's deepest flaw, its fear of change. Generations before him hid their pain to protect tradition. He is simply the newest child caught in the pattern. The leaked report, now circulating among professionals and whispered about by insiders, casts a long and heavy shadow. It exposes not only a boy in distress, but an institution unable to evolve even when a child's future is at stake. In the end, one question hangs in the air, sharper than any headline. How far will the crown go to protect its power, even when the cost is the well-being of its youngest heir? As the palace walls tighten and whispers rise, Prince Louis's fate hangs between truth and tradition. The leaked report cannot be erased, and the crown can no longer outrun the questions it fears most. In the end, one reality remains. The monarchy is steady, but the child at its center is not. Stay with us for unfolding updates. This story is far from over, and the truth behind the palace walls is only beginning to surface.